Changing fragment in the activity. Hello everyone, in this video we will learn how to change fragment inside an activity and add another activity instead of it. All right? So that makes this a very important subject, as if you weren't already paying attention. But I'll tell you, when we're talking about the advantages of fragments, mentioned the fact that we can pass one fragment to another fragment without losing or closing an activity, right? So in this video, we're going to learn how to do that process. You thought it couldn't be done. So let's pass on over to Android Studio and move forward. So there was a project from the previous video, and in that video, we will continue with that project. In the previous video, we added fragment to the main activity. So in this video, we're going to add a button. Now, when we click that button, one fragment will be closed and another fragment will be added. You follow? So first, I want to change the relative layout to linear layout in main activity. So now our main layout is linear, and under that, there's a frame layout, which will show fragment. I will add a button here. I will write Replace Second Fragment to the text of this button. So that when I click that button, I want a second fragment to open. So I'll adjust the width of the button, wrap content, and I'll make the gravity value of the linear layout to be centered. To put some space between the button and the fragment, I will change layout margin value. I'll adjust the layout margin top and bottom values to 10 dp so that we put 10 dp of space over the top and bottom of the button. So just by opening the application, this first fragment will be added because we already wrote its code in the previous video. Pretty clever, huh? So now we'll write the necessary code to open a new fragment when we click on this button. So to be able to do that, I've got to give an ID to the button. So I'll write button replace for its ID. All right, so now let's create the second fragment, which is going to be added. Again, I'll choose an empty fragment. And I'll write second fragment as its name. Second fragment is created after clicking the Finish button. So there is a text view that comes up with fragment, and I'll adjust the height of that text view to be wrap content. And I'll write my second fragment for text so that we can just, be clear and understand that it is indeed the second fragment. And I'm going to change the background of the second fragment. Now I know it's not necessarily a lovely color, but you can choose whatever color you want. I mean, this isn't a class on color theory, so I just pick whatever color's fast. And let me just increase the font size a bit. And the second fragment is now ready. So I can write some Java code in main activity. First, I'll define the button in the main activity. I'll write button replace here. Then I will match the button with its ID in the onCreate method. I will write replace equals find view by ID r.id.buttonReplace. So then after that, I will add a click listener to that button. And that way the process of calling the second fragment inside the onCreate method will begin. So here I'll create an object from the Fragment Manager class. Now I've got to call the second object something else because we've already got an object named Fragment Manager. So let's make this Fragment Manager 1. All right, so now to start the transaction process, I'm going to create an object fragment transaction class again. And then I'll create the second fragments object here. Second fragment's name was second fragment. So I will write second fragment equals new second fragment. Then I will write fragment transaction dot replace. So in here, the replace method will run the new fragment. In other words, the first fragment will be closed and the second fragment will be opened. The replace method gets two parameters. First one is ID of the layout, which will show the fragment inside. So that means I've got to define frame layout with its ID. So here I'll write r.id.frame. Second parameter is the name of the second fragment, which is second fragment. And now lastly, I'll be able to close the transaction process. Okay, so as you see, the process of changing the second fragment with the first fragment is very similar to the process of adding a new fragment. We just use the replace method instead of the add method. So why don't we have a look and see how it works, and let's run the application. And sure enough, the application opens, and now the first fragment's running, and after I click the button, the second fragment starts to run. Very cool. All right, so that wraps up this video on how to add a new fragment and knock out the old one. See you in the next video.